Do you not think that for a country and the people to share knowledge and ideas together, it makes sense to have a national language?
That would have been the thingy or the idea if we did not have such a freaking huge population with so much linguistic diversity. If that is the representation
TV
of
news
Hindi,
channel, if TV news channels are a representation of how Hindi is,
oh my God,
then it's an extremely violent language. Then it's an extremely insensitive language, crass. It's not a good look.
Yeah, it's not a good look. Whereas we have it's not Hindi which is being imposed on Tamil speaking people or Telugu speaking people. It's the power of the Hindi speakers.
Correct.
It's the power of the north.
Correct.
It's the power of the power center. You are not just using it to communicate with other people, but you are using it to communicate with the world as well. And the world, I just don't mean as people, but how you see your surroundings, how your world affects you, how you affect the world. So you are essentially creating your reality based on your language. Your language is creating
This is something that freaks me out.
Yeah.
So, private companies are never forced to use a particular language. Let's say tomorrow बोलते हैं कि if you want to operate in India, Tata has to use only Hindi. All communications within Tata have to be in Hindi. Now Tata employs a ton of people. TCS है, ये है. It's an opportunity. Automatically Hindi becomes a language of opportunity. Why don't they do that?
Okay.
Why won't you force a private company to do that?
Because you can't.
Exactly.
You can't. Language, when you are looking at it politically, it's not just the language, it's also the language of power, it's also the language of the majority, it's also the language of the religious majority. So the usage or the push of Hindi is not, you also have to look at it from the lens of it being a language largely spoken by Hindus.
Hindi should be our national language.
Excuse me? It's not so simple.
Hello and welcome to It's Not So Simple. Today I am joined by Dr. Madri Kakoti, someone you know as Dr. Medusa as well. She is a political satirist. Her videos go viral all the time. But what you don't know probably about her is that she's also a professor in Lucknow University and she teaches linguistics. People are full of surprises like her.
Yeah.
Is this your reveal moment right now?
Oh no, it has been revealed actually a couple of months ago. There was an unfortunate incident which happened with me, and because of that reason now my secret is out. And even though I am Dr. Medusa, but you also now know me as Dr. Madri Kakoti. And you knew it beforehand, although you never remembered my name. And just call me Dr. Medusa or just Medu or just Medusa. But
no,
yeah.
Dr. Medusa is fine.
Yeah.
So, should Hindi be our national language?
See, I am a linguist. You were asking a linguist this question. And as a linguist, I am trained not to, give importance or give political importance or political mileage to any particular language. And there is no question of should or should not, especially in a country like ours. We speak so many languages. In our the 2010 or 11 census, it lists more than 600 languages. The People's Survey of India, which looked at mother tongues, that lists more than 800 languages, in fact 740 to 800 languages, out of which 50 have become extinct. So in such a case, with so much linguistic diversity, there is no question of should that takes place, specifically with the political ramifications that question carries. It's a very, very loaded question. So we cannot really say what should and should not be. As a linguist, I am not a prescriptivist. I am descriptivist. I describe the way things are. I describe the way languages function, the way language functions in a society, the way people use language, the way languages change. That is my job as a linguist. So to answer your question, whether it should be or shouldn't be, that is really not my prerogative.
Wow, you're very different when you're a professor, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Very nice.
Thank you for noticing.
Very nice. Let's start with... okay, we'll get to that question later because there are so many elements to this, right? Which is...
It's like you say, it's not so simple.
Yeah, and also the thing is this line I have heard so many times, right? Hindi should be our national language. Hindi should be our national language. So I thought that let's break it down a little bit. there are a few elements that come in here, right? One is language, second is national, and third is Hindi. So I feel like these are three areas that I want to explore with you a bit. Let's start with language. What, according to you, is a language?
It's a tool for human communication.
That's it.
That's it.
Nothing more, nothing
more,
less.
nothing less. Of course, it has, as and when, because because it is something which humans have created. Like everything else, it also carries with it eventually, as it functions in a society, as time passes, it carries a number of external meanings and external perspectives with it. However, at the absolute base, at the absolute root, it is a tool of communication. It is the one thing which separates the human species from everything else, every other species in the world, our communication system. Yes, other species also have their own communication systems, but they're very limited and very finite. For example, there are chimps and apes which have an 80 signal communication system, 80 to 120 signal communication
What does that
system.
mean?
So they have signals, etc., within themselves, which mean certain things, like how they call out to each other, their mating signals, signals of danger, and so on and so forth. There are various octaves in which they pitches and octaves in which they scream in order to communicate a certain thing to their children, to their mates, to their competitors, and dangers, etc. So they have this a very finite system of symbols which they use in order to communicate with each other. It goes advanced, becomes advanced as we look at other species. For example, dolphins have a way more advanced system of communication. They use sound waves and so on and so forth. And human beings, on the other hand, we have this finite number of sounds, because all the sounds that we can produce, you can look at them in the International Phonetic Alphabet. That's the amount, that's the number, that's a finite number of sounds that the human languages have. From that finite number of sounds, we have an infinite number of communication signals that we can send.
Right.
A very finite system, but we have an infinite number of signals that we can send. We can talk about our thoughts, we can talk about our beliefs, we can talk about things which are not real, we can imagine an entire worlds and talk about them. We can give shape to certain ideas which only exist in your imagination, and if you communicate that to me in the vocabulary that I understand, that I will be able to imagine the exact same thing that you do, which is the thing, like for example in comics and in graphic novels, that's what you do. In anime, in horror, that entire genre is completely made out of things that we imagine, right? So a very similar, very finite number of sounds, and we have this infinite system. So as and when time evolves, as and when languages evolve, societies evolve, languages carry with them this baggage of extra information. But at the root of it, it is a system of communication.
It's a means to an end.
It's a means to an end. It's something which I use in order to talk about what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm imagining, the past, the present, the future, something which has not even happened. The past, still you can make sense because it has happened, you have an idea of it. But the future, you do not know what is going to happen, and yet you have the language to talk about it. So at the absolute skeleton level, it is a system of communication.
But then, why do we take it so personally? So right now we're talking in English. I feel like the way I talk in English versus how I talk in Marathi is very different. Marathi is my emotional language, as I call it. English is my language of opportunity. And Hindi is my language of getting around at this point of time, because I live in Delhi, etc.
Yeah.
It's functional. So Hindi for me is a means to an end, right? When I watch videos in Hindi, sure, I watch Hindi, I listen to Hindi, etc. But I would prefer English content, English videos, etc. I would even prefer Marathi. Why does this happen? Like, why is there such a distinction between, let's say for now, my mother tongue or emotional language is Marathi. Yours is Assamese.
Assamese.
Why are there two different things happening here? Like, what do you think about that?
So the thing is, like I said, at the absolute basic level, language is a means of communication. Language is a tool of communication, it's a mode of communication. However, like your podcast's name is, it's not so simple, right? It does carry with it a number of layers, and we as human beings, when we have started using, or when we started using language, it's not simply, we have not just only used it as a mode of communication, because gradually speaking, several other things became attached to it. And one of the most important things which happens with language is, because you see it as a language of communication, as a mode of communication, you are not just using it to communicate with other people, but you are using it to communicate with the world as well. And the world, I just don't mean as people, but how you see your surroundings, how your world affects you, how you affect the world. So you are essentially creating your reality based on your language. Your language is creating
this
your...
is something that freaks me out. So
Yeah.
I recently learned about this. I think Nietzsche is the one who said this, right?
The
That,
relativity thingy?
yeah, the linguistic relativity thing, right? But can you tell us what
Yeah, so
linguistic
the
relativity?
linguistic relativity is there were these linguists, scholars actually, Sapir and Whorf. They gave us the Sapir and Whorf hypothesis, which says that basically how you think shapes your language, and your language, on the other hand, also shapes you. It's like, one of the examples which I give in my class usually is, whenever we have any event of, let's say, sexual violence happening to a woman, and when you use the passive form, that so and so, a woman was violated in, let's say, Delhi, you have completely obliterated the subject from this sentence. There is no doer of the sentence. The act of violation happened in a vacuum where you do not see the perpetrator. So it's a patriarchal way. It's, again, like, it's one of my favorite things to talk about anyways, patriarchy and the effects of it. But that's the thing. Because
So
you
it
have
should be something like a man violated.
that is the most a passive voice is a grammatical structure which does not come naturally. What is the natural way? Somebody does something. I eat a sandwich. You eat a sandwich. He eats a sandwich. Okay? Somebody is doing the action. There has to be an actor. Without the actor, it happens in a vacuum.
Correct.
So when something like that, so when you do that, so that affects your thinking, because you are concentrating more on the victim or the survivor now. You have completely taken away from the equation the subject or the doer of the sentence, which reduces the perpetrator's responsibility in the entire, which we often see in our society, that whenever such a thing happens, whenever such an action happens, the entire focus lands on the survivor, lands on the victim. Are zindagi kharab ho gayi? Are what else?
Are you saying
what are they gonna do?
language is responsible for that part?
It's both the things, because our society is shaped like that. We have shaped our language, and on the other hand, our language also is shaping the later parts of the coming generations, who are kind of bent to think that way now.
But then now, because you've added this extra layer of complexity, it's not a tool anymore, right?
Yes.
It is basically a reality. It is an identity.
It's an identity. That's why I said that the absolute skeleton level, at the basic level, it is a tool, but then of course it gains these extra layers as and when it becomes a part of society. And so now that we have had like years and years of human society, thousands millennia of human society, so language also has evolved in these ways.
Okay, weird thought then. So are you saying that when I think about the world in Marathi versus when you think about the world in Assamese, we think about different worlds?
Assamese
is a gender neutral language, right?
Yes, we do not have grammatical gender. That's a different thing. Not gender neutral language. Grammatical gender is when the grammar of the language itself assigns a particular gender, a binary gender, to binary or non-binary also sometimes, to objects. Anything, any noun.
Table ladki hai, ladka hai, whatever.
जैसे मेज कुर्सी रखी हुई है, मेज रखी हुई है, ट्रेन चलती है, but aeroplane उड़ता है. There is no reason why an aeroplane is male and why train is female. But then again, it's not so simple, because there are certain things. For example, in Hindi, the diminutive form, the form which is smaller, the noun, when a noun has to be made smaller in size, more fragile in size, it becomes a female. For example, dibba is a dabba, bada dibba. But a dibiya,
bada dabba,
but a choti
dibbi. Oh shit, yes.
Okay, so the moment it becomes diminutive, it is feminine. Kutir is mera ek kutir hai, but meri ek kutiya hai. Kutia is a jhopdi, small.
Right.
Okay? So when it has to become smaller, it's given the feminine gender. When it's bigger, it's the male gender. So there are. It's not across the board. It
Sure.
doesn't happen across the board. There are exceptions, but these are the general rules in which languages function. So grammatical gender is when the language itself assigns a gender to a particular to any noun. All the nouns. In Assamese, you do not have grammatical gender. For example, we have soki is kursi. कुर्सी रखी हुई है सोकी खन रखा से टेबल खन रखा से ट्रेन आही से प्लेन उड़ी से सो इट्स देयर इज नो ग्रामेटिकल जेंडर द वर्ब डज नॉट रिफ्लेक्ट
But in Marathi we do.
So of course there are grammatical genders in languages across the world. It's a thing. It's a grammatical feature.
So does that change our worldview?
It does. It absolutely does. When your diminutive is automatically feminine, then it does affect the way you think about the feminine, right?
Right.
So that does happen. So there won't be like huge earth-shattering differences between your Marathi identity and your Marathi world and my Ahomia world, but there will be some features. There will be certain features which maybe are not coming to your mind right then and there, but then eventually it does.
Like I remember, so my partner is Bengali,
yeah.
so she
Bengali.
speaks Bangla, and there is this word I have found fascinating, which is called naka.
Oh, I love Naka.
Naka is something I can't describe.
You can't.
And it took a while for me to get what it
Yeah.
is. I still can't describe it. You have to see it to believe it. It's like a behavior.
Yes, it is.
Right? It is a kind of behavior which only Bangla people are able to tell. And now I can tell it that this is what they're talking about. But we have no such word in Marathi.
Yeah.
I think that day you were telling me about German also, right?
Yes, there was this one Walter's Abschirkeit, which is the feeling that you are right, but you are. Do you have the thingy of doing a beep? Because I am a professor, so I cannot use any language. So the thing is, you are being an asshole.
The word is?
Asshole. Walter's Abschirkeit. It's a phrase because German is an agglutinative language. It glues number of different morphemes together to form this one big word. So it just means that you are you are right, but I will not agree with you because you're an asshole.
That's such a nice word.
It's there.
You can just use it wherever you want.
Walter Abschirkeit. And I'm not very sure whether it actually exists or not because I have tried looking it up in dictionaries and stuff. But I'm pretty sure it's like a colloquial thingy because I found it on Tumblr. So, and Tumblr is a treasure trove when it comes to linguistic, these beautiful things. There was this one word which I had discovered which was like, also our jugaad.
Jugaad,
There's a book called the Book of Untranslatable Items and Untranslatable Terms from different languages. So there is the jugaad is one of the first Hindi words or one of the first Hindustani words to feature in that particular book. So there's no translation of jugaad other than in English. Maybe you can say MacGyvering it, but not many people understand who MacGyver was as well, especially people who have not watched MacGyver in action. So you don't know what MacGyver is, but then jugaad is the closest translation to that would be MacGyvering something. So that is one of the items which was there in the book. It's a wonderful book. If you have a chance, please go ahead and read it.
I have one more related question to this, which is so like it's like how human beings when they're growing up, I learned to walk, I learned to crawl, I learned to run. Now every human being learns to do that. But I learn Marathi and you learn Assamese. So it's a learned behavior, isn't it? Language can be called a learned behavior.
Actually,
it's not like you had a choice because the people around you are the ones who are deciding what language they are using. And then first that, which is like your first encounter with language is always a social experience.
Involuntary.
It's involuntary. Then you go out in the world. And then you can choose, but you can't really, can you?
Really.
It's already been decided. What do you think about that? Like, do we have any liberty when it actually comes to languages in a very realistic sense?
Okay, I'll address that question in a moment, but I would just want to address the learned behavior
Yeah.
phrase that you used, because there were scholars who looked at language as learned behavior, which was later on refuted that it is not learned behavior, because learning, by definition, involves effort from your side. And linguistic, when you learn a language, especially when you're an infant, when you don't learn the language, you are acquiring a language. So that's why we call it language acquisition and not language learning. So language acquisition happens automatically. It does not matter who you are born to, your parents, what languages your parents speak. It is entirely about the linguistic input that you get in those formative years when you are
Right.
an infant, etc. So a child, let's say born to Assamese parents, if the child is born in Korea, grows up in Korea, will end up speaking Korean as their first language. Unless there is absolutely 100% separation of the child from a Korean environment and you are actually giving the child only the linguistic input of the parents, only then it is possible. But the thing is, human brain is such a fascinating, absolutely 100%, it's so beautiful to think about and so beautiful to understand that we already have the system that requires us to, we are genetically wired to acquire languages. We are
Interesting.
genetically wired. And that acquisition, there is a period in which that acquisition happens absolutely subconsciously. You do not even have to think about it. That is called your critical period, which is until puberty. Because your brain is developing, it is forming, it is making new neurons every single minute, every single day. So you have more information. The brain is automatically taking in the linguistic input, figuring out what is the grammar of this particular language that I'm speaking, that I'm confronted with every day, and I have to learn this language, I have to learn this here. All of this is happening in the background. You are not doing
But you're
anything
not looking
voluntarily.
at it structurally. You're not thinking of it as
You
grammar
don't
or
do it at all.
whatever
It's doing it itself. The
automatically.
brain is happening. If you have the switchboard, somebody flipped on a switch when they started speaking around you, in that when you got all of the linguistic input, the flipping of the switch happened, you start acquiring that language. When you move out, if you during the same period before the critical period ends, before your puberty begins, if you move out and you are confronted with another language, you also learn that language, you acquire that language automatically. There is no reason for you to even stress a lot. Why, I have to learn this, I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm talking about language, not the one which is taught in schools, let's say, or the grammar that is taught in schools, the
Sorry,
spelling, the orthography, etc. Not that, but language, as a mean of
can I tell you
communication.
something
Yeah, yeah.
mind blowing that happened? So one of my friends, I think 5 years ago, had a kid, right? So the kid started talking around like 1 year, 1.5 years, etc. Now my friend is Tamil, his wife is Telugu, and his school mein English
Yeah.
is there, and he was in Delhi. This kid turned out to be a multilingual genius,
Absolutely,
right? At
100%.
one and a half
Yep.
years, he was speaking four
Yeah, yeah,
languages.
possible.
And then I was like, dude, this kid is a multilingual genius. Then one of my friends had a kid, right? The kid grew up in Delhi. Then they moved to Hyderabad, and she's 2 or 3 years old now. She's also speaking Telugu. She's speaking Hindi. She's speaking English. She's speaking Hindi, Bangla, because dad is Bangla.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this kid also is a multilingual
Yeah.
genius. So I get what you mean.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. We have the setup. It's just about switching on switches, flipping on switches, and when that happens, it happens completely automatically. It does not matter. For example, when you look at kids, and when some kid is using a particular grammatical structure which is traditionally not correct. For example, the whole "don't end your sentences with a preposition." It's a traditionally incorrect grammatical structure, but kids use it all the time, and no matter how much you correct, it does not work with them, because that's what it is. Language is an acquired behavior. It's not learned behavior. Students or kids will not listen to you when it comes to that. There's a wonderful book called The Introduction of Languages by Victoria Fromkin, and in that she talks about this experiment that these linguist parents, they did with their children, and the child was talking to the. It was a very long term experiment, because the child was their own child, and they were looking at how they are acquiring language and so on and so forth, and whether correction and correcting a child works or not. So the child is narrating her experience, and she's like, "Oh, I go to the park, and then in the park I met with my friend." So the child, so the mom goes, "Oh, you went to the park. So what happened in the park?" And she looks at her and is like, "I go to the park and I met my friend." And like, "You went to the park? Yes, I go to the park. And the mother is like, no, you need to say, I went to the park. She's like, I went to the park. Okay. So I go to the park. So the whole experience, the whole experiment is written down in that book. And it's wonderful because it's one of the, and then of course, multiple experiments were done and multiple children were looked at. And it has been it is quite proven that languages, they have this own flow. They have their own, our brain is already set. We are trying to understand how we acquire language, and there has been a lot of research which has happened, and a lot of understanding has happened, and which has in fact helped in language teaching, developing language teaching pedagogies in different languages. But yeah, that has happened, and that's how. So language is not a learned behavior. You learn a language later on in life when you want to actively put an effort into doing that.
So in the critical period, as you called it, it's an acquired behavior
Yep.
because of people around
Yep.
you. But does
Later
that
on.
change later? So does this acquisition continue later in life?
It decreases. It
It
doesn't go away completely.
decreases.
For example, this is an anecdotal experience from my own life, because I speak Nepali, I speak a little bit of, I speak Bangla, and I have never learned Nepali nor Bangla in an educational setting. They have always been friends, they have always been neighbors, and because of that reason, and because I'm an Assamese, I'm an Ohomia, and Ohomia culture has we have the Bangla culture also in Ohom,
Yeah.
and we listen to songs, we watch movies, many of our actors are Bengali speaking. So I have acquired Bangla. I wouldn't say 100%. I can read. I listen to music when I listen to music, I understand as well. I watch movies. I watch interviews, etc. All when they happen in Bangla, and understand them. Maybe not 100%, but 90%. I am quite confident that 90 to 95% I would understand. So that has happened in an acquisition setting, and that has happened because first of all, I think it also depends. On a very individual level, I think I have a knack for languages. I have always had. I love the way languages function. It has always been an interest of mine. So बहुत बचपन से I have liked learning. I tried learning French also, so I understand a little bit of French. I would say around 20 to 30%. Written French is easier for me to understand because of the word roots are very similar. 70% of English is French word roots, so that is very similar. Spanish, I understand Spanish, and I can speak a little bit of Spanish as well. So yeah, the thing is, acquisition or the ability to acquire something is always there. If you, without knowing a single word of any other language, you are dropped in that particular atmosphere, you are going to learn one way or the other.
Correct.
It might going to take you some time. You will use your gestures, you will use whatever mode of communication you have, but gradually you will get to know, oh, okay, if I'm hungry, I can use this. This is the word for food. This is the word for water.
You're basically describing me when I met my partner and her friends. So as you know, Bengali people hang out together all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like you get dropped into this atmosphere where everybody is talking in Bangla constantly.
And then you will
I picked it up.
gradually, yeah.
Yeah, I
Gradually
started
you'll pick it up.
understanding what they were saying.
Yep.
I didn't even have to try after a
Yep.
point. I just knew.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's easier with languages which belong to the same language family,
Right.
because Indo-Aryan language families, they all basically descended from Prakrit languages, and which again was from Vedic Sanskrit. So the lineage is that way, that many of the word roots are similar, and only the pronunciation changes or the grammatical endings change. Because of that reason, it's easier to flip between two sister languages. There will be more difficulty for you to understand or pick up something if you are dropped into, let's say, a Dravidian language family language. It is going to be difficult, but I'm not saying it's going to be impossible. Because acquisition goes down, definitely, but it's still there because your brain is naturally wired, genetically wired to learn languages.
So here's where I come to the national language now, which is so interesting now that we have approached it from this angle, which is it's an acquired behavior, but let me put it this way: you have to be open to it.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, for example, I am dropped into this setting where there are a lot of Bangla people talking. If I immediately get annoyed with it, I doubt I'll pick up that language.
Yeah.
But because, I mean, I had selfish interest because my partner was there
Yeah.
and I wanted to ingratiate myself into it. So then I'm putting in effort into
Yes.
doing that. When it comes to all these language conflicts happening currently, would you say that there is an element of resistance coming from migrants also when they go to a particular place, and that is why they are not able to pick up a language? Or is it that, I don't know if it's just me, but there are certain people who are extremely aggressive when they are trying to shove a language down your throat? Whether it be Marathi, whether it be Hindi in places, whether it be Tamil, wherever you go. Is there like a natural resistance that builds to this acquisition?
See, in this particular angle, in this particular question, the whole idea of respect comes in.
Yeah.
Because respect and pride come in.
That is
The
also
thing
related to language.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we don't really need to respect a particular language. We need to respect people. Right?
Correct.
The respect needs to be for the actual Harmaska person in front of you rather than an abstract part of your identity. So
But it is, right? I mean, language is
Unfortunately, like I said,
yeah.
I'm saying what should be,
Yeah.
and rather than what is. But if we think about what should be, and if we kind of modify our behavior in that way, it will definitely help. But then I don't really have a lot of hope from our society. But the thing is, when you talk about migrants, I don't think that there is a resistance from the migrants, because in the class hierarchical structure, they can't afford to have that kind of resistance. And
Interesting.
yeah, however, you might see that the hierarchy, the whole thingy, the conflict and the more incidence of such conflict is coming from wherever there is a little bit of power difference. For example, a bank official has kind of a little bit of power because they are giving a service, and bank officials have been notoriously, I'm not saying it's true because my father himself was retired from the bank.
Just generalizing.
I'm not generalizing, but there are jokes made about how they're just having lunch and not
Helping you.
not helping you. So, but then they have so much work anyways. I shouldn't be saying It's not a general comment. But the thing is, there is a little bit of a power hierarchy in that relationship of you as a customer and that person as a bank official who has control over the money. The person can say ki nahi, server kaam nahi kar raha hai, and then you'll have to accept it, you have to believe it. So anyone in our society, this is a larger problem. When I think about it, it's a larger problem in the society, a society which has so little now. Our people have so little to hang on to. They're just living hand to mouth. Many of our people, they're struggling in their lives. There is so much price rise. There is so much of difference that you hang on to any element of pride that you can.
Right.
Okay. And language, because it's such a huge part of your identity, it's a huge part of how you express yourself, right? And how you see the world, how the world sees you. Because language also is associated with prestige in a number of different cases. So in that kind of an environment, you try and hold on to whatever semblance of power that you have, and that is what is creating these conflicts, because you will always see that you look at the power difference. It never happens between one manager and another manager. It always happens between somebody who has power and somebody who does not.
It's very interesting. Let me give you a case that happened recently in Maharashtra, right? In one particular bank, this manager, who is Gujarati, is dealing with a customer, and the customer comes in and he's basically talking in Hindi and Gujarati, and she is talking to him in Marathi. Now, she maybe requests him, I don't know exactly what happened there, but this is based on the readings that I've done. Requests him, can you talk in a language I understand? And he launches into Gujarati. And then he starts cursing her in Gujarati, saying that, no, now Gujaratis have taken over Maharashtra and something, according to her perspective. She goes to a political party, one of the many.
Yeah.
And people come in, and the manager runs away after that, of course. But they beat up one employee.
Okay.
They publicly humiliate this employee because the
I've seen
employee
that,
can't
yeah.
speak Marathi either. Now, the people who come in, they want the bank manager to apologize to this woman in Marathi. So they're like forcing him to say in Marathi ki I apologize, maafi magitli, vagre vagre. Tell me how do you look at the power hierarchy at work here, right? This customer is coming to a manager. Manager clearly is in a powerful position. what is he doing? He's basically trying to shove a language down her throat, or refusing to even acknowledge.
Come down to her terms.
Yeah, come down to her terms. Now she's going to a political party. Now political party becomes even more powerful force that comes in,
Yep.
which is trying to
Yep.
push
So
a language
she,
down.
the customer, did not have power in that situation. She wanted that power, and that's why she approached somebody who does have power. And that power is not linguistic power; it's political power.
Correct.
So she did not approach just any political party, right? She approached a particular political party in a particular organization, in a particular setup, in a particular
Right.
state.
Right.
And so the whole, we always, whenever there are conflict situations, I always believe that we absolutely always need to look at the power dynamics between the whole things. And this whole idea, when I saw the person slapping the other person, I saw that video, and there was the association of violence in situations like this, the association, because the thing is, our society, because it's a patriarchal society, we have kind of associated power and masculinity with the amount of violence that you can get away with,
Correct.
right? And here it's the patriarchal enforcement of my linguistic power. Okay, and the woman, of course, she appealed to the power that she thought that she can hang on to, and thereby also feel powerful herself.
Yeah.
So we always, whenever there is a conflict situation, you always look at the power structure, you look at the power hierarchy. Why is it happening? Somebody wants to feel powerful. That's why they are doing this, because they know if they raise the language issue, it's going to become an immediate viral sensation, and immediate eyes are going to be on it. People are going to talk to you. You're going to feel powerful for that particular moment. Even the whole Rapido wala thingy of happened. She also, I think, the woman who ended up hitting the Rapido driver, she also talked about how he wanted her to speak in Kannada and so on and so forth. So I'm not sure whether how much of that is true, or whose account is true. But the idea of introducing the language angle in a conflict between two people, that happens because right now there is a set of people with political power, with patriarchal power associated with the language question, and that's why that is happening.
So you're saying that maybe their source of frustration is something else, but they're using like maybe language as an excuse to sort of
a
exhibit
tool.
that power?
It's a tool. It's because, like, linguistic pride, of course, it comes from your identity. Of course, it comes from your the way you view the world. But when you attach politics to it, when you talk about it being the only way in which you can become relevant in a very highly politically volatile atmosphere, politically volatile society, volatile country, if that is how you gain political relevance, if that is how you gain political power, you're definitely going to use it. Because
Linguistic
it's a very
chauvinism.
chauvinism.
But I want to bring this here as well, the linguistic chauvinism. So chauvinism is when you have this belief that you are superior than someone else, right? Which is, so in this case, it's like, oh, my language is superior to yours, right?
Yep.
And I see like so many justifications coming, especially from language people saying Sanskrit, for example, is a superior language, NASA wale bhi use kar rahe, etc. Why is there this need to prove a language as superior? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because again, as you said, language is functional for me in a lot of ways. Do I think Hindi is superior to English? No. Do I think English is superior to Hindi? No. Because the situations will be different where I'll be using it, right?
The whole idea of superiority of a language, again, these are about power dynamics in a society. English in our country, English gives you employability. You talk well in English, you speak good English, you use English in a very beautiful way, you are fluent, you are automatically more eligible for certain jobs and in certain circles. In the same way, if your accent is clear, so-called neutral accent. If you have a neutral accent, if you do not have your mother tongue influencing your English, you are automatically well suited for certain jobs. The same thing in separate circles is with Hindi. If you do not have a Bhojpuri accent, if you do not have an Awadhi accent, if you do not use Awadhi words or local so-called local regional language, if your Hindi is devoid of these structures which regional languages use, then it is automatically considered good Hindi or Saaf Hindi.
I've seen this in Marathi also. Like
Yeah.
Nagpur Marathi is a little different from Pune Marathi, and Mumbai Marathi is very cosmopolitan. Strangely enough, so Pune has like a purer form. So they
Yeah.
take this strange kind of pride
Yeah.
in the language,
Yeah.
right? So I speak Marathi. I'm from Nagpur. I go to Pune. And there have been instances where I have been corrected about certain words I'm using. And I realize that they do think that their usage of
better.
the same language is
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Where does that
So
come from?
that has always come from traditionally what language has been spoken by people in power. Okay,
Fair.
so the powerful, whenever they have whichever language they have used, has automatically become the prestige variety. So when during the medieval period, during the 10th to 18th centuries, before the British came in, the entire Hindi or Khadi Boli was introduced. Hindustani or Khadi Boli basically was introduced as the language of the courts. Okay? Along with Persian,
What is Khadi Boli exactly?
Khadi Boli is the version, the standard modern Hindi.
Standard
The
modern.
standard,
The one we are
Hindi,
using
standard
right
version, we use Hindustani because our language has a lot of Persian words, Arabic words. It's a mixture of you cannot. It's mutually intelligible with the version of Hindi that we speak. It's mutually intelligible with Urdu.
now. Okay.
Okay, because
Like anybody who is in Pakistan who is speaking, I understand them, and
yeah, and you would
vice
understand,
versa,
or you would understand that. So Khadi Boli was introduced in the 10th to 18th century when this was the time when the Mughal period was like really flourishing, and they were here basically. So they had introduced Hindi or Khadi Boli as the language of the courts along with Persian, and of course that's why it automatically became the language of prestige. That version of Hindi, not the Awadhi or the Magahi or the older Shaurashani Prakrit versions of Hindi, those were not they automatically lost their social capital, social footing when Khadi Boli became the language of the courts, the language of the people who were in power. So that's whenever you see a certain language which has linguistic prestige, it automatically think of who was speaking this language at that point of time.
Interesting.
Because before Khadi Boli, there was Braj Bhasha, which was the language of Awadhi, and Braj Bhasha, which were the language of literature. And when literature, because there are beautiful, beautiful texts written in Awadhi and Braj, and when you create something of beauty in a language, there is prestige. So because again, that literature also is a tool of power, right? The superstructure, the entire superstructure is made of what you are writing and what you are reading, or who is writing and who is reading them, right? So when Khadi Boli became the language of the courts, then Braj and Awadhi took a back seat, and now I even hear some people talk about Braj and Awadhi as upabhashas of Hindi, when Braj and Awadhi predate Hindi by centuries.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I always thought they were dialects.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing.
That's crazy.
They are not. They are variations of this. See, the thing is, this is what makes me extremely excited, because Shauraseni Prakrit was the immediate mother language of these languages. And when you say Prakrit is a group of languages. It's not one language, okay? The Prakrits, there are Prakrits. There are various form of Prakrits. Magadhi was a form of Prakrit. And Shaurashani Prakrit is the closest one that we have from the Vedic Sanskrit line. So we have Indo-Aryan languages, we have the Vedic Sanskrit, which was the spoken variety of Sanskrit. Then you have all of these different Shaurashani Prakrit. You have Magadhi, you have... there's another one, I forget its name. Anyway, one, and then you have Pali. So these languages were the language of the people, because Vedic Sanskrit was the oral language which was restricted to the Brahmin caste, because it was the language of
religious texts and scriptures.
Religious texts and scriptures. So it was restricted to the one particular caste and gender, and later on the rest of it was. It was basically the Prakrit languages, which gave rise to all the Indo-Aryan languages of the world, of our country. Okay? So Gujarati ho, Assamia ho, Bangla ho, Hindi ho, Marathi ho, all of these languages, even Sinhalese. Sri Lanka, spoken in Sri Lanka, an Indo-Aryan language,
Yeah.
nothing in between the Dravidian languages, but Sinhalese is Indo-Aryan. That happens because people move and there are migration patterns which have been mapped by scholars everywhere. But the thing is, you always have to look at who had the power, and from these Prakrit languages we had Braj and Awadhi, and these languages predate the modern Hindi that we speak. Okay, so the modern Hindi that we speak, that is spoken in, let's say, the parliament, although the parliament has quite unparliamentary words nowadays being used. But
But you're saying that is Hindustani.
the parliament, not so much. The one which is used by our politicians, let's say Sushma Swaraj, she spoke Hindi. She
Okay.
spoke modern standard Hindi.
Okay.
Because there was a very conscious expulsion of Urdu and Perso-Arabic words from Hindi at a certain point of time, especially during
Partition ke time pe,
and during our independence struggle also, when it was seen as one language to unite the people of our country. Or us time pe Hindi ko thoda sa, as in order to standardize it and modernize it, it was attempted. Even our constitution also talks about whenever we have to create a word in Hindi, if it doesn't exist in the register already, we will look at Sanskrit first and then to regional languages later. That's what our constitution says. So that's what happened. We got rid of a number of Sanskrit words, Sanskrit origin words. That the same thing also happened in Tamil. There were movements to rid Tamil of Sanskrit origin words, even though Tamil is a completely different language family altogether. It falls in a different language family. But because we are one people, we share geographical boundaries, we share our habits, we share food, we share cultures. Because of that reason, there are various areal similarities. These are called areal features, like features of languages, grammatical features of languages which are similar to each other, despite them belonging to completely different language families.
Got it.
For example, the retroflex sound, the t sound, the th sound. This is a very Dravidian feature, but you see it in every language of.
So it's like
the
mixing
country
and
has
mingling with each other.
Exactly. That is how languages work. You cannot stop them from mixing. You cannot stop them from changing.
And you can't also purge them
You
and
cannot
separate
purge
them.
You cannot. You will always have a, like, when you have, for example, in the legal register, मुकदमा दर्ज हुआ है, ठीक है? You try saying that in Hindi.
मुकदमा दर्ज हुआ है, but that just seems so natural, and it's Urdu.
It's Urdu. It's Persian, because the legal system, the legal system that we have, a lot of it came from the Persian idea of law and legality and etc.
Correct.
Because of that reason, a lot of things have been like muwakkil and wakil. Understanding that mujhe ek wakil karna is easier. If you are in trouble, you will think अरे मुझे एक वकील करना. You'll never think मुझे एक अधिवक्ता से बात करनी चाहिए.
Adhivakta is the word.
Adhivakta is the word. It's there. It's in practice. Especially, I'm from Lucknow. I teach in Lucknow, and I see the word adhivakta being used a number of times, and it's very popular. It's over there, but I do not know whether it will be understood as easily as a vakil in other places. In other, because that's the register of the language, and you can try. For example, right now, I think the Rajasthan government and one more government, they have asked the police to get rid of Persian and Urdu words and replace them with Hindi words, because it's difficult for people to understand the Persian words, which I do not agree. Because आप गिरफ्तारी होते हो, आपको गिरफ्तार ही किया गया है.
That's also
what else are you going? Like, I don't even know how would you say गिरफ्तार in Hindi. So case darj kiya gaya hai. I've asked this to a number. I've asked a number of my friends, how do you say muqaddama darj kiya gaya hai? What will you say? So somebody said vaad dakhil kiya gaya. So see, dakhil again is Urdu. It's not the pure Hindi word that you are looking at. So vaad, but then vaad means an argument. It's not really the muqaddama ka jo feeling hai, muqaddama ka jo exact definition hai. Vaad doesn't come there. Tehreer aapne dakhil kiya. You have given an application for an FIR, a first information report.
That's also Urdu.
First,
Tehreer is Urdu, yeah.
Tehreer. I know the Hindi for FIR, which is Prathamiki, but I don't know what is the
Prathamiki.
Yeah, Prathamiki. But
wow.
Yeah. So the thing is, you can't purge.
Because they're used in, so from what I understand, okay, just to like bring us back to the thing, when we are talking about languages. Of course, there are people who, the way I look at it, they grow up with certain languages around them, they acquire them. Then they move to certain places, right? Uh, and then they start sharing their words and languages and observations, etc. And then there are like amalgamations that form over centuries, I'm guessing. Uh, at what point does it become a national language? I'll give you an example. In the constitution of France says that French will be the national language of France, which means that the language will be used in schools, universities, courts, everywhere. Signboards will be in that, etc. Easier said than done there than here.
Yeah.
At what point do you think it is useful for a country to have a national language?
I don't think it is useful at all. The only criteria for a language becoming a national language is exactly what you said. It has to be mentioned in the constitution.
But okay,
That's the only
leave the
like,
constitution.
technically.
No,
Technically,
wait,
that's
wait,
the only
wait.
way. Yeah.
Taking back to the French example.
Yep.
So the fact that their courts and their schools and everything operates in one language. I believe in China, Cantonese was replaced with Mandarin.
Both of them exist, but then officially. Yeah.
But official is Mandarin, I believe.
yeah.
In Korea, for example, Korean, I don't think they have declared it in their constitution, but it is a national language, so all their universities, etc., use it. Do you not think that for a country and the people to share knowledge and ideas together, it makes sense to have a national language?
That would have been the thingy or the idea if we did not have such a freaking huge population with so much linguistic diversity. Now we might think that China has a bigger population and China still has a national language or still has one language. It doesn't really.
It doesn't.
It does. China has these two variations of Mandarin and Cantonese, but these Mandarin and Cantonese are the names that we know or we understand.
Right.
They have Wu, they have Han, they have Xiang. They have so many other different languages which are spoken by different people of the Ye. But the beauty of the Chinese linguistic situation or the linguistic situation in China is that they have the characters which they use to write, they are the same. So it does not matter whether you are speaking one language or the other. If you write it down, you can have the same understanding because it's not a syllabic language, it's an iconographic language. Each icon represents a particular idea, so you require the understanding of that icon. So you have simplified Chinese, you have simplified Mandarin, you have classical Mandarin, you have classical Cantonese. So you have these different variations of the same I wouldn't say the same language, because when the moment it becomes simplified and they are two different, like we said, two different worldviews that we are looking at. In our country, however, because we have so much linguistic diversity, I think we are the 6th or the 7th most diverse country, linguistically speaking. We have so many, 740 in the People's Survey of India, even more unofficially. Unofficially, the census, I think, reported around 1,798 mother tongues at one point of time. So we have these many languages. Yes, it would be good for ideas to be shared in one language, but it's also, on the other hand, it's also good for us to open ourselves to more worldviews via more number of languages.
This actually
Instead
brings
of
us...
reducing it to just one worldview, why do we not look at it as, Before you go on to the next point, let me just quickly tell you one thing. For example, Germany, the language spoken by the people of Germany is German as we know it, because it's an exonym. We call it German, they call it Deutsch. So if you apply for a fellowship or if you apply for a government job you're working there, not just a government job, any job, you go there, they give you 2 months of German education.
Yeah.
Okay, so you learn German, absolute basic German for 2 months. Do you know why they do that? Because that flips the switch in your brain. That 2 months of your exposure to German flips the language switch in your brain. It's easier for you to communicate in German. Your brain thinks, oh, I will be getting German input, German linguistic input, I should be more aware, and your brain automatically is more aware. It's picking up more structures in German, it's picking up more sentences, more phrases in German, you are becoming more fluent in the language automatically after the 2 months. Something like that. Why can we not do something like that in our country?
It's actually very interesting what you said, because when you say switch flips, right? I'm bringing it back to what we started with a little bit, which is how your complete worldview is dependent on the language you speak. Like we gave the example of gender, right? It's actually very interesting when I think about it, that if you, let's say, like if we look at Indian national language, we don't have one. We don't have a national language, just saying. But national language, let's say we are taking Hindi, right? I don't know if a Tamil person and a Bangla person learn Hindi, but then they have to express the same ideas that they used to in that language. Maybe they will not be able to. Because the feel will be different, the
Yeah.
worldview will be completely
Vocabulary
different.
will be different.
Vocabulary
Yeah,
will be
yeah.
different.
Sometimes you are
so
not- yeah.
lost in translation becomes a reality, right? Maybe that is one reason.
But you know how I like to look at it is, instead of lost in translation, you find a different way, probably a better way to explain something which you want to. So I always, because that's how languages function. Okay, if agar it takes the way of the least resistance, wherever, however it is required, it will make its way. There is
Right.
no way you can stop it. Okay, so the thing is, like I was saying, that the linguistic training being given for people who are entering Germany, it's easier for them. It's easier for the people who are entering Germany. If you do not know German at all, you have a little bit of a basis, and you're able to function, you're able to build relationships with the people over there. And anybody, when I see somebody trying to speak, for example, my partner, he does not speak Assamese, but whenever he speaks even a single sentence in Assamese, I feel so wonderful, because even if it's like a short sentence, and it feels so, like I feel so connected with him at that particular moment when he tries to do that. So it's, language has always been the tool to join people. So, and we are missing out on it because of this whole idea of power, and power being associated, political power being associated with languages. We are missing out on that, because imagine if, let's say, our bank officials, because I know for a fact that this happens to our IPS officers and IAS officers, they are given training in a language when they particularly go
Attached to a state.
attached to a state or a cadre, whichever language, whichever is the dominant language of that particular area, they are given training in that. So why can we not do that in other languages, other fields as well? It's not going to be very difficult. You speak one sentence. Again, this is again it comes from very anecdotal experience. Whenever I have been in one of the southern states, if I have tried to speak a sentence in Malayalam or in Tamil or in Kannada, they have always welcomed me. They have always been extremely happy. No, madam, it's okay. And they try and use their own version, their English and my English, and we together, we try and figure out a way to communicate. Okay.
I had this-
It has never been antagonistic if I have tried.
I had this similar experience when I was covering elections in Bengal. So again, I had picked up a little bit of Bangla because of friends, etc. I went there and I was so when we went to villages and rural areas, वहाँ पे तो हिंदी किसी को आता नहीं है, right? Funnily enough, I found out only 20% people in Bengal actually know Hindi.
Yeah.
Speaking is different. So I experienced it, because when you go to like places like Nandigram and even like Jhargram and places, they have their own dialect of Bangla happening also. I go there and I'm trying to report a story, and like, of course, someone from Delhi, I'm just like, Hindi mein jhaad rahe hum, baat kar rahe. They get very confused, right? But what I found fascinating is that after a few days, what I did was I learned a few sentences in Bangla, which is like, and I can't.
Kotha bolte pari?
हाँ, कथा
Can we
बोलते
speak?
पारी ना, कथा बोलते पारी ना, and when I said that in Bangla, they basically suggested that why don't you talk in Hindi and we'll talk to you in Bangla. We'll understand each other. And it like opened up a world for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Because as they, and they also understood Hindi. They couldn't speak it.
Yep.
I couldn't speak Bangla. I understood it. We were able to have perfectly great communication
Yep.
going on.
Yep.
At least like basic information I was able to pick up.
Because the thing is, what you do, and in these cases, we again, in your case as well, in my case as well, we have to look at the power dynamics again. So if I am going to a certain place, so you are a journalist, so automatically, and especially if you are going to these rural places which are not very well off, you automatically have a little bit of power based on the place that you are coming from. So when you try and speak to them in their language, you have diffused that power, and that makes it easier for them to communicate. The same way we have to, like I said, like whenever we are looking at language, even though at the absolute skeleton level it is a mode of communication, it does carry with it these external ramifications of power and because it is associated with identity, and our society and human nature unfortunately exploits different aspects of identity for political gain and political power. So you diffuse that. So the same thing which I was when I was talking about a migrant not being able to use that particular language, and him not really having any choice in it because he is not in a class in the social hierarchy or in the social class where he can afford not to speak that particular language. So it will never come. The aggression will never come from his side. कि नहीं करना तेरे यहाँ पे काम, मेरे को नहीं बोलना. That is never going to come because the person has to survive, and they will do whatever they need to in order to survive.
So I have two last questions, and both are connected, right? We don't have a national language. We have 22
Scheduled
official languages. Scheduled language. So the way it works is that we have a schedule in the constitution which has 22 official languages, and these are languages which I guess were dependent on dominant population. Right now, the way I look at it, plus also because we have so many linguistic states, which are divided based on linguistics, so they were also added. I found out that there are 63 other languages who have demanded that they
Official
should become
status,
official status. So that is also a part of our constitution, more or less. One is that, which is that we don't have a national language. What we do have is English and Hindi are
Co-official languages.
co-official languages. Let's call them working languages, because our governments usually use English. If not, they use Hindi. Right?
The court judiciary completely uses English.
Court uses English. But I mean, of course, wakalatnama and everything, they can still draft in Hindi, but usually
accepted. It's not, there is no rule against that.
Yeah, it's accepted. Interestingly enough, what has happened since 2014 is that Parliament has slowly transformed into Hindi. Because when I was working in Parliament, it was more English. Like the language was English, the speaker was speaking English. Now the speaker is using like extremely strong Hindi. I don't even understand. He's using words which I don't understand, etc. And you have to make sense of it. Language is political right now.
Yep.
Tell me, how effective is it as a political weapon, or as a propaganda tool, or as something that you use to get votes?
The thing is, what happens is usually language as a political tool is not a singular identity or just the identity of language. Just the identity of that particular language, okay? For example, Hindi is not just Hindi or not just the language Hindi. It's the language of the Hindu people.
Interesting.
You can see in the past, the whole reason for the formation of Bangladesh, the whole fight between Bangla and Urdu when Pakistan was formed, when West Pakistan and East Pakistan, they declared Urdu as their national language, despite like 90% of the population speaking something else. West Pakistan, majority of West Pakistan spoke Sindhi, spoke Punjabi. East Pakistan completely spoke Bangla. Where did Urdu come from? Urdu came because it was the language of the political elite. And because it was in direct contrast to Hindi. which was seen as a Hindu language, and Urdu, which was seen as the Muslim language, okay, because of Perso-Arabic influence. So language, when you are looking at it politically, it's not just the language, it's also the language of power, it's also the language of the majority, or it's also the language of the religious majority. So the
Interesting.
usage or the push of Hindi is not, you also have to look at it from the lens of it being a language largely spoken by Hindus.
But
Because the whole push towards getting rid of Urdu words, getting rid of Perso-Arabic words, where is it coming from?
sure, I get it.
Yeah.
So, for example, no, but okay, I'll maybe add a little bit of complication here. Someone from Andhra Pradesh or someone from, let's say, Karnataka, who considers themselves a Hindu, they speak Telugu and Kannada. Technically, that is not the language of Hindus
that's not-
anymore, right?
that's not.
So, why is it this way?
It would, what देखो जितना मेरी understanding है, there in each case they would appeal to the person to whichever identity is more powerful politically at that point of time. Today, all of us will agree that the Hindu identity is more powerful than the Hindi-speaking identity.
Correct.
So a person from Andhra or specifically somebody who is associated directly with the political party, they probably would be pushed towards Hindi as the language of the Hindus.
Correct.
Right? बाद में देख लेंगे, तेलुगु को बाद में हम लोग देख लेंगे. It will be a language. It's a beautiful language, like our Prime Minister also goes in
Gujarati.
everywhere else. Everywhere else, it's a beautiful language. It is a very old language. It's a very before our Prime Minister said that Tamil is the oldest language, there was a huge debate about Tamil and Sanskrit being which of them being the older one, which is still not, even scholars are not sure which one is older.
I saw that. I think it's still conflicting,
They're
right?
still conflicted. Tamil is a living language. Sanskrit is a so-called dead language, even though a couple of million people still speak Sanskrit in our country, not as a first language, but as a language which they have learnt. So Tamil is the oldest living language. There are other oldest written languages like Sumerian, etc., Egyptian, etc. They have 5,000, 6,000-year-old scriptures. So written forms are there. So all of these things exist. So at a given moment of time, politically, which identity will appeal to you? This is all a part of political power. I do not think anybody is extremely interested in what happens to Hindi as a language in any political scenario. In fact, because if it had been, there would have been actual employability. There would have been employability in Hindi. You would have offered employability in Hindi. In our corporate culture, in our largely huge private sector, Hindi is still not the language that is preferred if you want a job.
That's true.
Right?
That's very true.
If it had any, if our government was interested in actual promotion of the language as something which is lucrative to the younger people, then it would have there would have been schemes, there would have been not just this Hindi Divas celebration and a pakhwada of Hindi, not just that. That's something which is done, which is still done, and I'm not saying it has like zero effect. It does have, but then it does not translate into employability. It
So
does
you're
not translate
saying
into
that
opportunity.
Okay, this is interesting because I think one of the reasons why I learned English and I use English is because I do consider it as a language of opportunity, because I know that एक तो YouTube पे बहुत बड़ी audience है.
Yep.
English ka. Of course, there's a giant audience in Hindi also, but that's also because of our population. But keeping that aside, there is a giant amount of people. But I also know that because I speak English, it will open up a lot of doors for me, right? So you're saying that if Hindi needs to be realistically promoted or encouraged, or people need to sort of see it as a useful language to pick up, it needs to become a language of opportunity.
Incentive. There has to be incentive for speaking that particular language. For example, again, I go back to Germany because they have a wonderful language. They have a wonderful linguistic universities. They have a beautiful language program. They have developed language pedagogy in such a way. Like, see, that's the thing. I said in the initial part of our conversation, I talked about how language acquisition is being understood and how that is used to modify language pedagogy, language teaching pedagogy. So in that way, there have been compact programs developed by languages like Spanish, languages like German, Japanese, Korean, Mandarin. These languages have French. They have developed these compact programs where you can learn, where you can have this the linguistic session, where you can have classes, and you end up speaking at the end of 3 months, beginner's level; at the end of 6 months, intermediate level; at the end of 9 months, advanced level language.
Interesting.
So they have.
Is it
and
a
it's-
different way to teach also?
Absolutely, because when you are teaching language, you have to tap into the areas of the brain which are already communicating, already ready for the acquisition of the language, and that tapping into the brain has been studied, has been scholars have studied it and then have developed these new methods of communication in which the whole thing. I'll tell you
Is
something.
this the Duolingo thing?
No, Duolingo. Please don't use Duolingo to learn a language. It doesn't work. Anyway, so there was this one joke which said that I know how to say that you are not a table in French, but I don't know how to ask for water. You are not a table. I know how to say that in French, but I don't know how to ask for water. So anyway, the thing is, these programs have been developed and they have used research, science-backed research to develop these programs to teach the language, which creates this new world of opportunity for anybody who has learned that language. Somebody who has learned German has this entire world of opportunity opening up in
That's
Germany.
true. That's
Somebody
very true.
who learns Spanish has this entire world of opportunity opening up in Spain, in France, in everywhere else, anywhere else where Spanish is spoken. So,
But what is the opportunity that opens up if you learn Hindi right now?
Exactly.
No, but like
Exactly.
according
What
to you,
is it?
is there? Is what I'm asking.
I don't think so. Other than, let's say political, I may be wrong. I may not know what opportunities exist in Hindi, but we do have
Content
certain
mein hai.
government jobs.
Content is a big
content may be
opportunity.
there, but also content does not use the Manak, the standard Hindi, right? It uses Hindustani. It is a combination of and English, a combination of English words, combination of new Gen Z lingo which they use, like skibidi and stuff. I have no idea. So they use in Hindi also these words are used, and then So the thing is, you have to open up, you have to incentivize the understanding of the usage of the you have to create a program which has this science-backed, research-backed linguistic pedagogy of language teaching, how you teach the particular language so that the child or the student or the person who wants to learn it acquires it in the easiest possible manner. That's how you do it. Right now,
just one thing. Now that you have mentioned it, the opportunity thing is still buzzing in my head. This is interesting because in Tamil Nadu, they have been constantly, fighting against imposition of Hindi, as they call it. Tamil Nadu is the only state, by the way, which has a 2-language policy right now, which means India, other states, we have 3-language policy. Every school will teach 3 languages. One is the mother tongue of that area. Second is Hindi. And third is English, usually, right? So Tamil Nadu has been fighting against it. What they say is that the first language you learn is Tamil. Second is English, because it's the language of opportunity. Third, we leave it to you.
Yeah.
It's like we're not going to stop you from learning Hindi. We just say that it might not be necessary for you to learn Hindi. You can take a choice if you want to move to UP or Bihar to work, which is not happening.
Really, not happening.
You can learn Hindi.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a decent approach, honestly.
Yep.
From
That's the whole thing. It's the whole fight is not against Hindi per se.
No, sorry, sir, but
In
that
any-
was not
any-
the
in
that was
any
not the
state.
point I was
Yeah,
making.
yeah,
But
okay.
my thing is that schools are being forced to do this. What is interesting to me, private companies are never forced to use a particular language. Let's say tomorrow bolte hai ki if you want to operate in India, Tata has to use only Hindi. All communications within Tata have to be in Hindi. Now Tata employs a ton of people, TCS hai, ye hai, it's an opportunity. Automatically Hindi becomes a language of opportunity. Why don't they do that?
Okay.
Why why won't you force a private company to do that?
Because you can't.
Exactly.
You can't force a
it's
private
easy
company.
to force schools to do it.
Also that's a very short term kind of a solution, because you are not creating the infrastructure to support the language and you're just imposing it. That the whole problem is with this imposition. There is no reason why somebody would hate a language, or let's say hate Hindi. It's a beautiful language, a beautiful books, beautiful literature, beautiful poetry in Hindi. You incentivize it. You give incentive to a student who, say, learns Hindi or understands Hindi or opts for Hindi in a particular language. You incentivize this. You incentivize a company that is using Hindi in their everyday circles. You incentivize, let's say, if somebody is going to Tamil Nadu, or if somebody from South India, if somebody from the southern parts of India is coming to the north, and you incentivize them for learning Hindi, instead of saying, nahi, Hindi to सीखना पड़ेगा वरना तो तुमको मार पड़ जाएगी. In the same way, Marathi to सीखनी पड़ेगी वरना तुमको मार पड़ जाएगी. You incentivize.
Marathi सीख लो. Okay, instead of मार पड़ जाएगी, can I say Marathi सीखो, you'll get a job.
You'll get a job. Huh? Why not? Why would somebody not want to open that world of opportunity? Why do you think that Jawaharlal Nehru University has this entire school for learning of languages, and there are multiple languages being taught there? Why? Because it opens up the world. It opens up the world for you.
It's the German model also.
It's the German model also. In Jawaharlal Nehru University, when I was doing my linguistic, I was in my PhD second year. My roommate was in Spanish second year. Spanish BA second year. Not even masters, not even PhD. She was in BA second year. She was pulling up this guide gigs, where she would go to as a guide to with a group of people who had come from Spain. Because by the end of 1 year, you have absolute wonderful communicative communicative level of Spanish in when after 1 year of BA education in JNU. So that kid was pulling in like 40,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees ka guide ka gigs.
Right.
In second year, and we were languishing at 16,000 rupees JRF. We are from that time of the JRF scholarships. So that's the thing. It opens up not just employability. It is giving you so much, and she came from such a poor background. My partner's roommate, he was in Russian at that point of time. He was from such a poor background that the first scholarship that he received, he bought a pressure cooker for his house, for his home, for his mom. He bought a pressure cooker from the money that he received. That is the kind of the students who come from this kind of a background, when they learn a language, it opens up an entire world. And it's not just the underprivileged children that I'm talking about. Anyone who learns a language, it opens up a world of opportunity. It opens up a world of, like we are talking about how every language has a world of its own. It's that you understand, you are an insider into that world now. So if there are incentives to learning a particular language, everybody would. And you wouldn't have to force or you wouldn't have to impose a language on the other. Because with imposition, it's not Hindi which is being imposed on Tamil-speaking people or Telugu-speaking people. It's the power of the Hindi speakers.
Correct.
It's the power of the North.
Correct.
It's the power of the power center. Whichever language is spoken in the power center, that automatically
it is an identity sort of being forced on people also, which obviously they won't relate to, because they have a different identity
already. They have a different
already.
identity altogether.
Different
they have
cultural,
a different culture altogether. Different
worldview.
altogether.
Different
worldview altogether. So in us tarike se, so the thing is, in order to promote a particular language, you have to have, first of all, like I said, because I'm a linguist, I always talk about language teaching. Language teaching has become almost like a science in certain languages. For example, French, the way French is taught, the way Spanish is taught, the way German, Mandarin, Korean, etc. are taught, extremely scientific. They go situation by situation, they go register by register. Okay? So, for example, at the absolute beginner level, it was discovered that it is easier for us to pick up nouns. Okay, that's names of things. Even children, even infants, they will also point at things and say names. So that's the process of language acquisition. So in the first stage, you are taught lists, and you are given lists as situations, things that you can relate to. For example, tomorrow you have to go somewhere. You are backpacking somewhere. What are the kind of things that you will require? Make a list. Right? You need
Interesting.
toothpaste, you need a brush, you need a backpack. What are all of these things called in this particular language? When you associate that with a situation that could have that can actually happen to you, your brain makes that connection. Your brain, the switch is flipped on, and then it's easier for you to learn that language.
There's this. So
It's not इसको संज्ञा कहते हैं, इसको सर्वनाम कहते हैं, ये विशेषण है, इनको ऐसे इस्तेमाल. No, that doesn't work.
So,
That system doesn't work anymore.
Kanan Gopinathan did this podcast with Kunal where he gave this idea, right? Which is he was trying to learn 5 things in each Indian language. So when he moved to like he was an IAS officer and he was moved to this place. He was like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty,
Yeah.
toilet kahan par hai, mujhe maro mat, please save me, and please take me to this address. These are the 5 things you need to learn at a very basic level
At a very
to
basic
operate in any place. Which I found very interesting because I mean, make that 10 sentences. It's not a big deal if you want to learn those 10 sentences. Even if you're saying it in a very broken, weird way, I think people understand, right?
They do.
My thing is, I have started to do this because I have gone to multiple places to sort of cover elections, and I traveled a lot, and I was living in Sikkim for a while, and all those things. I always try to do this. I would say terrible things in their language.
Yeah.
Terrible in the sense, not insulting. Not insulting. Terribly spoken language, but it would show them that I
You're
am trying.
Yep.
They immediately switch to Hindi or English.
Always. It's a general tendency because sometimes the human nature also I marvel at the human nature. Sometimes we are so welcoming, and especially when somebody is making an effort, that's enough.
Yeah.
Even in our relationships, if someone is making an effort, we understand, we recognize that effort.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing in languages also. You make an effort, the person will recognize that you are making an effort. If you're like so stubborn ki nahi, is that you immediately associate pride with it, and then like, nah, absolutely not, मैं तो ये मेरी भाषा में, like, oh my god, I get so frustrated sometimes because there's this thing now. In Assamese there is a saying that I love my mother. Just because I love my mother doesn't mean that I hate your mother.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So I love my language, but I shouldn't create an environment in which I hate your language, or you also maybe don't create an environment where you say that you speak your language and you hate the
it doesn't
others.
become like a hate-love relationship when it comes to language. It becomes like, oh, I love my language because my language is superior.
Is the best.
Linguistic chauvinism
No, it
comes
doesn't.
in.
It doesn't. No, there is no such thing as a superior language. There is no such thing as the best language. Languages seem beautiful. Languages seem melodious to you. Certain languages might seem melodious to you because that's how you have been exposed to these languages. For example, Urdu seems so melodious and beautiful to us. Why? To all the majority of the northern Indian speakers. Why? Because we have been exposed to Urdu poetry.
Correct.
We have been exposed to Urdu
Songs.
shairi and songs. More, because not just Urdu, that's the Hindustani version of Urdu,
Yes.
right? Because if you Khalis Urdu mein bola gaya, we also won't be able to understand because it has a lot of Persian-Arabic ye. But the Hindustani mein jo Hindustani bhashaएं जो है उसमें जो बोली जाती है, for example, that song Zeh Nasib, if you translate it to let's say daya karo या फिर आपकी कृपा होगी, it won't make the same effect. Or the song आरंभ है प्रचंड. If you translate that into any other language, it's not going to make that kind of an effect like it does with आरंभ है प्रचंड. It's a different feeling altogether, and it's Hindi. It's the Manak standard Hindi that we think we speak, but we don't, because we mix languages all the time. Even in this particular language, in this particular song, there is this line: "Jang ki ghadi ki tum guhar do." Jang is not Hindi. Yudh is Hindi, but Jang ki ghadi ki tum guhar do, because it fits there. So that's the thing. You have this. There is no such thing as this language is very beautiful, this language is not beautiful. There's no such thing as that. Every language has within itself this world of emotion, this world which is very familiar to the people who speak it. It's easiest for them to speak or to express in that particular language, and it's beautiful to them. It does not mean that because they feel that their language is beautiful, another language becomes less beautiful or not beautiful. It still is. It's a very subjective thing. It belongs to the people. Language is something which is created by the people. They love their own language. They love the worldview that they have. And like I said, you do not have to respect the language, but you respect the person.
Yeah.
You respect people.
Yeah.
You respect the community. Because they speak in that language, you as an outsider are there for a particular job, for you're serving them, you are providing them with a service, they are providing you with money in exchange of that service. It doesn't hurt you from trying to make an effort. So, and also it doesn't hurt the community. Like it's a both way thingy. अगर उस सामने वाले को नहीं आ रहा है तो आप भी अगर उसको accommodate करोगे तो आप छोटे नहीं पड़ जाओगे. But then again, with communities comes the idea of power.
Power,
There is majority, there is so on and so forth. But then as an individual, like I believe that it is always if you go 1 inch, you go 1 step, they'll come meet you 10.
Fair.
So make that effort. Like I would love that.
I think that is a good point to end this. And, if there is anything that I have learned over, years, is that sometimes people tend to just make declarations without really thinking about
Yeah.
it. Hindi should be national language. But as Dr. Medusa pointed out, it's not that easy, guys.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. Even if you had to do it, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Even if you had to make it the national language, how do you make it the language of opportunity so that people themselves get incentivized to learn it? Not because it's being forced down their throat, but because they feel that, if I learn this language, a new world opens up for me. Right now, I don't think that happens
That it doesn't.
with Hindi at all.
I would like to add just one thing to to our discussion, that one of the ways in which you can, like I said, we have to create the infrastructure for it first. We have to create the scaffolding for it first, for it to be comfortable in
Yes.
that particular area. You can't impose a language. Like, for example, we talked about Tata. You can't impose the language on the Ye without incentivizing or without helping the people who are actually trying to do it. One of the ways to help it is to solidify the pedagogy of language teaching in Hindi. We do not have a fixed. I taught Hindi at NYU when I was doing my Fulbright fellowship. I learned so many new things because I had no idea that languages are being taught this way, and that Hindi can be taught this way. We were teaching children interpersonal communication and different kinds of communication, presentational communication, interpersonal, intrapersonal communication. And we were teaching them, we were exposing them to this entire world, and we were just asking the kids to make sense of it. But our role as teachers was to introduce the right world to them at the right time. Like I said, with the
Interesting.
backpacking,
Yeah.
the backpacking thing, or you have gone to the zoo. Which animal is your favorite? Look at the animals and look at the let's talk about the animals. Let's talk about how many ears they have, how many legs they have, whether they have quills or whether they have VA. So that's the world that we are introducing them to, and then they are making sense of the world themselves. So our role came that way.
Basically, you're like creating simulations in a way.
Yes, we
right?
are.
And now that you mentioned it, I have expressed this on my channel multiple times. I have Hindi PTSD because of my terrible Hindi teacher and the way that he taught.
Yeah, we know about him.
Yeah. And hai ke upar dot nahi lagaya, so he
yeah.
would beat me up, sort of
Yeah.
a thing. If you are going to teach a language in that way, which is A, so boring, B, it hurts because you're literally beating
Also, it
me.
takes a very, very long time.
Oh, it takes time.
It takes a
It took
very,
me
very
so
long
long to learn Hindi because of it. Because I primary school se shuru kiya. Till like 9th standard, I couldn't write proper
Yeah,
sentences in
yeah,
Hindi.
yep.
It was horrifying.
Yeah.
It to trauma tha, but also like the way they are teaching it. So this is actually a very
This
interesting
is
thing to do.
extremely interesting. I'll give you one more example from my own experience, because I was taking Spanish when I was at NYU because I wanted to learn a language. And the first day I enter the class and the teacher is like, "Como te llama?" I have no clue what that means. I am looking at that person. I'm like, sorry. And he's like, "Como te llama?" And I realize that maybe in this situation, probably he's asking me for my name. Because that's the most natural thing to do.
Or welcoming you.
No, maybe you're welcome, but it went up in the end, no? The intonation went up in the end, so it's a
Right.
question mark. So I'm like, maybe that person is asking me for my name. So I'm like, Madri. And he's like, good. Bien.
Bien.
Bien, sit. And sit. Siéntate. So he asked me to sit, and I was like, wow. I just understood something in a language I have never been exposed to. Because why? Because I made that connection. And you need to understand that children when they're learning
And
a
then
language.
it stuck with you.
It stuck with me, and I know that. I know sientate means sit.
Also, bien, matlab,
Bien
thank
mane
you,
good.
I guess,
Bien
good,
is good.
thank you,
Bien is good
okay.
because I said, yeah, it's okay. And then, so he never taught us a phrase per se. He would speak fluent Spanish in a beginner class, and we would just hang on to these different words that he was talking about, and then making all of these different actions with his hands, his gestures, and so on and so forth, and these little games that we would play. So that's how it was taught, and it's almost it has been reduced to a science. It's wonderful to learn a
Nice.
language in these. Even the Cervantes Institute, which teaches Spanish in India, the Alliance Française, with the one which teaches French. The German is also being taught by a
Max Muller
organization.
maybe hota hai na?
Max Muller
Max
Bhavan.
Muller.
The government, which is like their not registered, what do you call it? Authorized person, authorized organization to teach language. So that kind of language teaching has to be introduced so that anyone who wants to understand or wants to learn beginner level Hindi is able to do that within 3 months. Corporate organizations, government organizations can get government officials who do not speak Hindi as their first language to get this training, get the basic level of education, basic level of linguistic communication that they can. That has to be there in the very first phase of introducing Hindi or promoting Hindi, and that is how that is how the government will be able to promote Hindi if they are actually serious about doing it. Just imposing it and just appealing to emotion, कि इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल लैंग्वेज, हमारी भाषा है, हम सबकी भाषा है, it's
Proud हो जाओ.
Proud हो जाओ. It's really not,
It's
because
not that.
the Northeast doesn't speak Hindi. I learned Hindi because I studied at a Kendriya Vidyalaya. My parents learned Hindi completely from movies and stuff. In fact, when I was a kid, my father used to give me dictation कि नहीं spelling लिखो वाला वो करते थे ना. Then he had no idea. He didn't read Hindi, never read Hindi before I was in school. So he would show me the book. He said, "What is this word?" And I would say enak. And he would say, "Ha, enak likho." I have seen what the word is. What dictation are you giving me? I have seen what the word is. I can
I
write
learned
it.
more
So he
Hindi.
basically cheated.
I learned
Yeah.
more Hindi after I came to Delhi, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I had learned Hindi, but like actually spoken Hindi where I was actually using it in sentences with people.
Yep.
I had friends in Nagpur also, but mostly they spoke Marathi. Hindi people also spoke Marathi, to be fair. Like in my friends, whoever they were non-Marathi people, but they spoke Marathi.
Yeah.
Because they lived there. They grew
live
up there.
Even if, like, for example, if you speak Marathi, I can understand it.
Yeah.
Like around 70 to 80% I can understand, because I listen to Marathi songs, I watch Marathi theaters and the plays and
Movies.
etc. Movies are there. I love a lot of the Marathi actors who are there. Extremely talented people. So the thing is, it again, like we have been saying, it opens up a completely different world. So incentivize it. You have this structure ready so that people who are in a government job or in a corporate job who need to learn that language can do it. And because you want to promote it, make it free.
I have another suggestion other than what you are saying. Fund more language movies. Actually,
Yeah.
find good stories and fund them and put them in theaters.
And it's not just, that's the scheduled languages we have. We
No,
scheduled
because
them.
sorry, I'm just saying this because right now our Hindi movie industry is producing garbage like
Very-
Houseful 5.
Lot of garbage.
Right, and it's not great. I mean, nobody
not
wants to
great.
watch it. Nobody really likes it. If your language media is producing terrible movies, it also speaks a lot about your language, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And how bad it has
Also, the
become.
language that
the
is being-
current zeitgeist of the language is not great.
Yeah. Also, the language that is being used in our TV channel nowadays.
Yeah.
If that is the representation
TV
of
news
Hindi,
channel, if TV news channels are a representation of how Hindi is,
Oh my God.
then it's an extremely violent language. Then it's an extremely insensitive
Crass.
language, crass. It's not a good look.
Yeah, it's not a good look. Whereas we have such beautiful poetry, such beautiful works of literature in Hindi language, and that is not being, advertised enough you watch beautiful translations of regional languages, other languages, texts and literature in other languages has happened to Hindi, and that is not advertised. People don't know. People who do not read Hindi literature, they don't have any idea the kind of classics that we have.
Yeah.
Like the kind of genres that we have covered, from satire to tragedy to social commentary, every single thing. It's beautiful.
Right.
In the
You
same
were
way,
telling me about Rag Darbari.
yes, I was. This is like one of my favorite. Yeah, I was also making my partner listen to Rag Darbari on the audio book. I was like, you have to listen to this. You have to. This is very funny. You have to listen to this. It's a huge. It's a very important social political commentary. Anyway, so all of these things are there, and not just Hindi, because we are talking about Hindi and the promotion of Hindi because we see that there is a very evident push from the government towards the language. So that's why we are talking about Hindi. But then the thing is, the ideal situation would be promoting, like state governments, etc., or the central government promoting all of our scheduled languages, like creating opportunities. Do we not have the infrastructure to do that? Absolutely, we do. Absolutely.
Oh, we do. We do, definitely.
We don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to. Even the national education policy, when it talked about teaching of creation of teaching material in tribal languages, in the language of the student, they added this little phrase called wherever possible. Wherever possible, so
they get getaway card.
Yeah. So in theory, you have said that that was one. When I read about it, when I heard about it, I was so happy that, oh my God, finally maybe we can have teacher training. We can have pedagogical material developed in mother languages in the L1 of the students who are actually learning, who are actually in schools in like these remote areas where there are Adivasi children, Mool Nivasi children studying in a school setup where there is only one teacher who speaks the majority language.
Yeah.
Right? So the majority, not the tribal's language, not the tribal person's language, but the majority language. So in that, maybe we can have teacher training first so I was thinking of all of these amazing, beautiful things, and then I see wherever possible. I'm like, yeah, right. So you have to have the intention. You cannot just have the emotion for it. You have to have the intention. We are talking about promotion, like both of us, we have talked a lot about the promotion of Hindi and the infrastructure and the scaffolding it requires. The same thing can be replicated across the board for other languages as well. You give people the opportunity, the incentive to learn a particular language, they will definitely learn it.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Madri Kakoti,
yes.
for being here. And yeah, she's a linguistics professor. Now you know.
Now you know.
Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.